So like any important project or any work starts with a peace invocation, Shanti part, so that we, have everything peaceful and calm, and so whatever we intend to do gets done successfully. So let me start with a very, very popular, famous, and very ubiquitous Shanti part, sarve bhavantu sukhinaḥ. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaḥ, sarve santu nirāmayāः, sarve bhadrani paṣyantu, mā kaścid dukkha bhag bhavet. Now this is a very popular one, and I'm sure most of you would have heard this one, but I wanted to point something interesting. It might have escaped the translations. Usually the translation is, may all be happy, healthy, see the good, and nobody have any sorrow in their share. But I want you to notice something. In this, I've highlighted some words, 3 words in red and 1 in green. The 3 words in red are the verbs to be, is, to see, and to become. But the green one is of a different mood. So you see, even if in English or Devanagari, the first one is bhavantu, second is santu, third is pashyantu, but the fourth is bhavet. It's not bhavantu or anything like that. And there is a subtle implication here. I've not seen pretty much anybody notice that part. So in Sanskrit, there are tenses and moods. So even though these 2 verbs are of 2 different moods, the red one is lotalakar, bhavantu, santu, pashyantu. Bhavet is a vidhiling lakar, which means that the first one is usually given as an order, as an imperative. And the bhavet, which is vidhiling, which means like this is as if it is a rule, vidhi. Vidhi ka vidhan or vidhan sabha and all this kind of things, legislative assembly. So the question is, why are they different? Now the thing is, depending on who says it, it could mean an order, it could mean a blessing, or it could mean a wish, right? Depending on who says. So for example, if the king says, it is more of an order. If an elderly person says, it's more of a blessing. And maybe if somebody of your peer says, or maybe your parent is saying, it could be a wish that maybe I wish you spent some more time studying. Father says to his son, or mother says to the son. So maybe that's a wish. So depending on that, but why is it different in the 4th one? So here is the trick. Sukhinaḥ is happy. Nirāmayāः is without any amaya, without any dis-ease, without any disease. So it's healthy. And bhadrani paṣyantu is one who sees the good. So everything has some good, some bad. Nothing is all good and nothing is all bad. Which one do we focus on? Do we try to see the good in things and people and situations, or do we try to see the bad or the negative? So the attitude, the bhadrani paṣyantu, is the attitude of being positive, seeing everything good in others. So these 3 things are in our control: to be happy, to be healthy, and to be positive. These 3 things are in our control. That is why the sage or the seer is saying that, hey, everybody, you should be happy, you should be healthy, you should be positive. It's not like may you be, because it's in your control. You have to be. But what about the future? Nobody knows. Nobody has any control on the future. No matter how much you plan, there is some surprise in the future. So here is a blessing or a wish. I wish, guys, it is a blessing that may nobody have sorrow in their future. May nobody has a share in sorrow in the future. So the critical point is, just because somebody says this for you does not mean that now you will be happy, now you'll be healthy, now you'll have a positive attitude. That you have to work upon. But the sages are wishing you that you never have bad luck. Okay, so you're not off the hook for your happiness, for your health, and for your attitude. That you only are responsible. So with that, let's move forward. So as I was mentioning, people think of very heavy, deep spirituality when it comes to Sanskrit, and it has to be super deep. So I thought maybe let's just take one more deep thing in Sanskrit, in spiritual aspect. First one, we just finished the sarve, bhavantu, sukhinaḥ. This one is tattvamasi. It is one of the Mahavakya of the Upanishads. There are 4 Mahavakyas. Mahavakya is the great utterance. So the entire volumes of Upanishads that have been written, composed actually, they were written very recently. They're composed very, very long time back. They're part of the Vedas. And they are the 4th part of the Vedas, the 4th type. And these are the more spiritual ones. And they are meant for the last ashram, people in the last stage of life. That's a 75 to 100. So they have done their studying. They have done their contribution to society. They even become social volunteers from 50 to 75. And now they're renouncing. So that is why the Upanishads are very, very philosophical, spiritual, very magnanimous, and grand thoughts, really grand thoughts. Anyway, so there comes the word tattvamasi. It's a phrase, tattvamasi, that thou art. These are 3 words. Tat is that, tvam is you, and asi is the verb form of you are. So in Sanskrit, the verbs have the person and the tense and the number embedded in it. So asi only means you in singular form, are in present tense. So tat tvam asi, that thou are, is a very, very famous Mahavakya. We'll take it in detail in some other session. So notice that it says tat. It doesn't say he or a she. So it's the God or the divine principle is not he or not she, not mother goddess, not father god. It's it. Because the supreme principle is beyond qualification, has no attribute, so it doesn't even have a gender. Right? That's the first thing we have to remember. So all these gods that you see, forms of God, Shiva, Vishnu, Ganesh, this and that, is purely for the sake of the devotee to get some attention. Everybody is not very comfortable with abstract ideas and all that stuff. Anyway, so tattvamasi, that you are. Now here is the interesting thing. The word tattvam also means essence. So this is a Sanskrit word, but in all Indian languages, the word tattva without the ma. Some languages have the tattvam also. Ma. But tattva means the essence. What is the sara tattva of the story? What is the sara tattva? What is the summary essence of the story? What is the essence of this food? What is the tattva in this fruit? What is the nutrition in this fruit? What is the essence? So in that sense, tattva means essence. But there is a suffix in Sanskrit called tva, tva suffix. This is different from tvam, which is you. The tva suffix means ness. For example, apanatva or stritva, womanness, stritva, rajatva, royalty-ness, like that. So the tva suffix is like ness. So tat tva would also mean that-ness, that-ness. So tattvam means tattvam, that you. There is no verb here. That is why it is not a full this thing. Tat asi would have been you are that. But tattvam, there is no verb. So now it is a now tattvam, thatness. What does it really mean is the essence of all spirituality, of all past, present, future. That is the essence of everything. That means that supreme divine is the essence of everything. In all of us, in living beings, non-living beings, in every one of the things, the essence of things, why something is as it is that. Why is the nucleus having all the electrons rotating around it? Why don't they fall in nucleus? That. Why doesn't the earth fall into the sun? That. Why did the moon become out of the earth because of some collision? That. Why are we living? That. Why are we happy? That. Why are we sad? That. Right? All of it is that. So I also wanted to touch base a little on what are the problems in studying the Sanskrit works. I didn't want to have it boring, but we have had two interesting things. So I thought I will touch upon this a little bit. It will help us in all the other sessions in the future. So one is the language knowledge is not enough all the time. The reason being, a lot of Sanskrit works, even though Sanskrit has been standardized after Panini, a lot of Sanskrit work, which is of a different time, the society was different, priorities were different, what is right and wrong was different. Just the word literal meaning might not always be sufficient. Also, in some works, when a word has more than one meaning, for example, technical words. So in English, for example, you have the word cell. Now, cell could mean a prison cell. It could mean a battery. In India, they call it cell. In US, they call it battery. It could also mean a cell phone. US, they call it cell. In India, they call it mobile cell phone. In biology, it could be a cell, the smallest unit of life, right? So the same word cell means different. And what if somebody who has just learned English, but not biology or anything, and he sees the word cell and somebody says, hey, what does this mean? He will say it is just a mobile phone or a prison cell, right? So the domain specific meanings of some words need not be obvious. That is why sometimes you need more than just the language knowledge. So commentaries are very good. And as an example, I'll give you one shlok, one composition, one verse, which is very nice. It has the same word 4 times in 4 different meanings. And it goes, Vina gorasam koraso bhojananam, Vina gorasam koraso bhupatinam, Vina gorasam koraso kamininam, Vina gorasam koraso panditanam. Gorasam is 4 times. Rasam is the juice, the extract, the essence. And go, usually people will say it is cow, but it has many more meanings. In this itself, there are 4 meanings. So the first go is cow, vina go rasam, without the ghee or the clarified butter for the Americans. Vina go rasam ko raso bhojananam. There is no taste in food without ghee. Vina gorasam koraso bhupatina. Bhupati is the bhupati. Pati is the one who protects. Bhu is land. The one who protects the land is a king. And go here means land. So without go rasam, what is the rasam of land? What is the reason people want land? Is the tax on the land. Meaning whatever you do, you will get some resources out of the land. If farmers are tilling, you get food. If there's mining going on, whatever. So the benefits from the land. So without the land, what is the point of a king? If the king who doesn't have land is useless. Vina gorasam ko raso kamini nam. So kamini nam, kamini is a beautiful woman. And here go means the senses, our body senses. So if our senses have gone dry, if we are old and not having our senses in proper form, there is no point of, no essence of kamini. And the last one is go, which means speech. Vina go rasam ko raso panditanam. Go rasam here is the sweet speech, a meaningful speech, that which helps somebody. So vina go rasam ko raso panditanam. What is the point of a pandit, a wise person, who can't even speak which is sweet and which is beneficial and which makes sense and which helps somebody? So that wisdom which is just sitting in your head is of no use, right? Unless you can benefit somebody with that, unless you can communicate with that. So 4 meanings of go, right here in one simple shlok. What if it was a complicated spiritual shlok? So one must seek some help. Cryptic or symbolic usage. This is also a very interesting one. Imagine, and everybody knows E is equal to MC square, right? I don't even have to write it. So imagine that you show that E is equal to MC square to a 2nd grader or a 1st grader or somebody. And you tell them, what is it? And the person will say, somebody is making spelling mistakes. This is not how you spell anything. It's very bad English. E is equal to MC square. That person has no idea what it means. So which means that just like a currency note is not food that you can eat, but you can buy food with that you can eat. So it's a symbol of the power to purchase. An example from the realm of Sanskrit works or Indian wisdom or anything is a very simple example, Shiva. Shiva has a lot of meanings. It has got a lot of iconography. It is not a simple concept at all. It's very simple, but it is not, it's simple to understand also, but it is very varied. And I'll take that itself in some other talks, a very big topic in itself. Even if you try to be very short, you cannot be shorter than half an hour minimum. You can keep talking about Shiva. It's a very symbolic. Shiva has serpents. Shiva has sun, moon, and fire as the eyes. He's called Mahadeva. He's called Mahakal. Why are these? Are they just just randomly chosen words? So there is some crypticism in that. Only till you understand. Once you understand, you see the clarity. And when we don't know something, it might be because we have not prepared, we have not done the homework. But sometimes we tend to simply say that, oh, if I didn't understand, then this must be a useless thing. Because I understand the domain of finance, I must be able to understand the domain of medicine. That doesn't work that way, right? Just because we breathe doesn't mean we understand everything about life. Because if we did, nobody would be having any problems. Nobody would be without happiness or without health or without a positive attitude, right? So it is not just that because I know one thing, I will know everything. This is a very wonderful example of Dunning-Kruger cognitive bias, which says that when you are smart, you think that you are blind to your own lack of understanding in a certain thing. Now, Dunning-Kruger is a new thing, and we say, wow, what a psychological cognitive research they've done and all. But interestingly, this is where all of Indian ancient wisdom supersedes anything you will ever find. They have researched the mind, the working of the mind, not the brain, but the mind. So as far back as in the Kena Upanishad is a wonderful Upanishad, Khanda 2, part 2. So in part 1, the Guru is talking about the questions that some people have asked him. Kena means by which. So the people have asked him some questions. By which do we see eyes? By which do we see? Some questions. So in Khanda 1, he explains all that. And in Khanda 2, the very first shlok, it says that if you think that you have understood everything about the supreme divine principle, then this opinion of yours, that I know everything now, this opinion of yours is worth discussing and pondering upon. That means just because you think you know, you might still not be knowing. It's a very profound statement. The other thing is, not all things of past are good or great. That's also important. Everybody was writing in Sanskrit at that time. Anything of importance was being written in Sanskrit. So it doesn't mean that every one of them is great and good. But here is one important thing to remember. The wisdom of the ancients, anything before, say, 1000 AD or 500 AD, had, and especially the Upanishads, which were before BCE, they had no agenda. They had no TV shows. They had no multi-million-dollar marketing contracts, nothing. They had the pure pursuit of truth. There was no agenda. There was nobody to convert to your opinion. There was nobody to challenge, nobody to defeat in an argument, nothing. So there's a pure pursuit of truth. And just for that reason, it is very, very beneficial for anybody on earth to look at these words of wisdom, these works of wisdom that have gone by in this land. And the other thing is, when you learn only through English works and only through English writers, there's a problem. What is the problem? Is there is a tendency to translate every one word to another word. Meaning, like, you are looking for one word translation, one word equivalence in English for every word of Sanskrit, which is a big problem. Just to take an example, the classic word dharma has very many shades of meaning. And it is not just, you pick randomly whatever you feel like. Those meanings are contextual. And if you choose one meaning in the translation, you have excluded all other meanings, which is a very big disservice. Now, I want to give you a classic example of misinterpretation. Remember, I was just talking about when you're only going through English works and only going through English writers, meaning those who have not lived or felt the wisdom or the culture, there's a problem. So let me give you a classic example. Ahibhuk, Kaivarta, Nyāya. So Ahibhuk, Ahi is opium, Ahibhuk. So Ahi is a snake and Ahibhuk is the frothing, poisonous frothing. And it is the poppy seeds, that poppy flowers that they burst, and there oozes out some white liquid like a froth thing, and from there the opium is made. And Bhuk is one who eats. So Ahibhuk is one who eats opium, or one who does weed or drugs, whatever you want to call. Kaivarta is a boatman. So this maxim is a very small story about the opium eater and the boatman. And when this one was first translated, and I'll tell you the story first and then I'll so there was one guy who was always high on weed, high on drug, high on opium, all the time. And one day he had to cross the river. So he goes to the ferry. The ferry was pretty much crowded. So he gets into the ferry and he thinks, what if I get lost? What if I can't find myself in this crowd? If I get to the other corner, other bank of the river, when I cross it, what if I don't find myself? Remember, he's very high on on the opium. So he has an idea, bright idea. He finds a rope in the boat and he says, I'll tie my leg with this rope and I'll hold it in my hand. So then I know that whichever leg this rope is there, that's me. So he ties the rope and he holds the rope, ties the rope to his leg and holds the other end in his hand and dozes off. Now the boatman heard this guy because he thought he was just thinking, but he was actually talking aloud, and the boatman heard his concerns and he thought to play a practical joke on the opium eater, Ahibhuk. So what he did was he removed the rope from the foot of the opium eater, Ahibhuk, and tied to his own foot. When the boat reached the other end, everybody got down, and Ahibhuk also woke up, and he had his rope in his hand, and he traced the rope to the leg, and then he saw that it was tied to the boatman, and he exclaimed, "Oh my God, I have become the boatman!" Right? He was afraid of losing his identity, and he became the boatman. Now, when it was first translated by an English writer who was collecting these Nyāyas, he said that it is very funny that this maxim is used or shown as a very deep maxim. This is actually just used to show a man's stupidity. But if you miss the depth of this maxim, this Nyāya, it's very big loss. So let me show you what is the lesson in this. Who is this Ahibhuk, the one who is high on opium? It is we, individually, all of us. What is the opium? It is the ego, our ego of power, wealth, title, whatnot. Oh, I am so and so big person. I am not the masses, I am a class, right? So all this title, entitlement we have of wealth, power, beauty, whatever it might be. And who are these people in the boat? They are the people in the world. And what is the river? The river is the world, the bhavatarini, the river of those that have happened, the river of samsara. Samsara is another word for world. And that is another topic of discussion I'll take up in the next session. Beautiful topic. Each word has a very, very deep philosophical meaning. It's not just randomly created word. And the boatman is the supreme divine. So the boatman is the supreme divine. And what is the rope? The rope is all the titles and the adjectives that we have, labels that we have put on ourselves. So now the beauty comes out. Only when we remove the rope can we identify with the divine. When this rope of entitlement, of ego, of power, of wealth is gone, only then we will see that we are the divine. We have the divine in us, and so does everybody else. So this is a very, very deep spiritual, philosophical statement, and you would have missed it if you didn't realize the metaphors in that. So let me take this moment, a little break, and now tell a little bit about myself. Most of you might know about myself, and if you have been on Practical Sanskrit, then you already know, but I thought, let me just quickly talk about what is my story here. So on the left is the Hitpadesh. It's a book of 11th century. This particular book was printed, physically printed in 1916, and it was given to me by my grandfather when I was in class 10. And my life has never been the same after that. This was the first textbook, first book in Sanskrit I saw that was outside my school curriculum, school syllabus. Till then I just thought, Sanskrit is just this one little book. So I had Sanskrit in school for 5 years. And then I did my bachelor's and master's in computer science. I went to US in 1990. I stayed there for almost 2 decades. And out there, I also edited a monthly cultural magazine meant for the Indian community. A lot of people away from India, missing their culture, trying to give their children. I also made an audio CD on Hitpadesh. First chapter. The Hitpadesh is 4 chapters. It's pretty big. So this is just the first chapter, and it was also well received. I also compiled a Hindu prayer book, which had all the common shloks and mantras and prayers, stuti, kirtan on the prominent forms of divine Shiva, Vishnu, Devi, Hanuman, Krishna, Ram, etc. And then 2007, this was in Bangalore. I am Bangalore. I had given an informal talk. It was supposed to be for half an hour, and it went beyond 2.5 hours. And then the organizers had to tell me that, please stop the session because people need to go to the other sessions also that are going in parallel. And my topic was everything you wanted to know about Panchatantra and Kama Sutra. And the whole point was that when you have made the money and don't know what to do with the money, then come to this session. So it was well attended. Then people told me about blogs, and I got introduced to that, and I started a Practical Sanskrit blog. It has had a little over 4 million viewers so far. And I started a Facebook page, got a little over 34,000 followers on that. And that inspired me to write a book back in 2011. It's been a long time. This was Attitude Shift, Sanskrit Maxims for Contemporary Life and Leadership. So we all are leaders to somebody, either at work or at home or in personal life. Somebody looks up to us. So we are leaders. So we have to behave in a way that we be a good role model. And that's just me with a bag full of shopping of Sanskrit books. I haven't finished them all yet. Okay, so let me start with a story. And the reason is everything in India has been about telling a story. This is a very recent thing that leadership gurus have learned, that story sticks. And that is why you have even very big Harvard professors creating stories about penguins who discover a hole under their iceberg, and these stories are meant for CEOs, modern day stories. But this is a very, very long tradition in India. We start seeing stories all the way back in the Vedas itself, but the stories for you and me, the common people, the messenger of wisdom, There you can take Hitpadesh that we saw was an 11th century work, which was inspired by Panchatantra, which was a 4th century work. There was Kathasarit Sagar before that, which means the ocean of the rivers of stories. There was a Brihat Kathasarit Sagar before that. There's a vast ocean of rivers of stories. So things have been, getting smaller and smaller. There was an ocean of rivers of stories. Then there was a vast ocean. There was an ocean. Then there was a Panchatantra, which all these are becoming smaller and smaller. And then there was a Hitpadesh. So by the time the 11th century came, maybe the students were not able to handle the Panchatantra itself. Syllabus was tougher, so they had to make it more simpler. And all these works, especially Hitpadesh, takes from all the other great works that have gone by. So it's kind of a rewrite and of all the research papers that have gone by. Somebody summarizes everything. So that's what is Hitpadesh. And the term edutainment, education, entertainment, it seems to be a new coinage of the last few decades, but it has been practiced in India forever. And the wisdom was given through stories. And I like to compare telling a story with a warm cup of tea. So I serve you a warm cup of tea of story. And just when you are enjoying the sweet tea, in India at least people take sweet tea with milk and everything, there is some ginger of wisdom put in the concoction. Some people might find it bitter, but most people find the kick is worth it. So ginger tea. So think of the wisdom as the ginger and the story as the tea. So this is the same book that I showed, 1916 work. Hitpadesh, which means beneficial advice, Hita Upadesh, Upadesh for your hit, beneficial advice. It states its purpose up front. Shruto hitopadeshoyam patvam samskrituktishu vacham sarvatra vaichitriam niti vidyam dadaticha. What does it mean? This Hitpadesh, when studied or when heard, because that time they used to hear from the senior students or from the guru, gives expertise in speaking Sanskrit, gives you a variety of speech, and it gives you practical wisdom of niti. So here goes the story. This is the preface to the Hitpadesh itself. So there was a king called Sudarshan from the city of Patliputra, which is on the river Ganga. Sudarshan, the word itself means, Su means as a prefix, means good. Darshan means vision. What you see, sighting or seeing something or seeing someone. So I had darshan of so-and-so means I had a vision of, I saw the person. So you have darshan of the deity in a temple, for example. So Sudarshan could mean two things. One, that one is good to look at. So it's a handsome king. And the other one is that one who's looking at is good. That means if you look at him, that means you are in his presence because you're close to him. It is actually beneficial to you because he's a very benevolent, very magnanimous king, and his grace upon you is going to change your life. Very nice. So this king Sudarshan had 4 sons, princes. They're all teenagers. They were spoiled. They did not study properly. And to be a king, it is not just good enough to be born to a king. You have to be worthy to be a king. The ministers will give advice. You need to be able to understand what they're telling you. You need to be aware of who is cheating, who is plotting, who is doing this or that, who is just sucking up to you, whatever. So he was a little bit worried about them. But one day, he was on his horse going by the river. So usually people go for a walk or a stroll or a jog by the river. Being a king, he was always on his horse. He wouldn't jog. He would be on a jogging horse, so to speak. And while he was going about, he heard 2 shlokas being recited. And most probably somebody was doing his homework. A student was doing his homework maybe, or a teacher was teaching his class. So he heard 2 shlokas. The first one was anekasaṃshayochchhedi paroksharthasya darshakam sarvasya locanam shastram yasya nastya andha eva sah. Anekasaṃshayochchhedi paroksharthasya darshakam. Sarvasya lochanam shastram yasya nasti andha evasa. And if you look at it now, I have highlighted all the vowels in red. This particular verse form is called Anushtup Chand. Chand is verses, prosody. Anushtup Chand. This particular verse is so common, so ubiquitous, so popular that it has got its own name called Shlok. Shlok is not any verse, it is specifically Anushtup Chand, this particular one. What is the property of this? It has 2 lines. Each line has 16 vowels. And usually, but not as a rule, usually they will break exactly at 8-8. So there are 4 parts of 8 each. So there are 8 vowels, 8 vowels, 8 vowels, 8 vowels, or you can say syllables, so to speak. Now let me show you how that breaks into individual syllables. So now you can see I've matched it up to red in the Devanagari, which is on top, and in the Roman, which is on the bottom. So there are 8 varna or 8 vowels. So interestingly, a syllable might be defined differently, but a varna in Sanskrit is defined when the vowel comes at the end. So when the vowel is over, the varna is finished. So you could have multiple consonants before that, but at the vowel, a varna is finished. So anekasaṃshayochchhedi, like that. All these are the varnas. So there are 8, 8, 8, 8. And now let me break this. So at the top, you see a whole bunch of some words are together and all. What happens in Sanskrit, if you have 2 words that are said in a flow, especially when you're singing it, it is in a flow. If those word boundaries have certain sounds, they might get modified. For example, if the second word starts with a vowel, then that vowel will surely merge with the previous word. For example, in the second line that you see, sarvasya lochanam shastram yasya na asti andha. So na asti becomes nasti. Then nasti plus andha become nastyandha. And then eva. So these are rules in Sanskrit. I don't want to go in detail on that one, but I just wanted you to feel that how each word splits into the compound words. Now you will also notice on the 4th part, that is the bottom right part, how many vowels are there now? How many syllables or varna are there? So you can count the red vowels: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're supposed to be only 8. So how they were 8? Because of the sandhi, the liaison that happened. These 2 got combined and 2 vowels disappeared. So they had 8. Just wanted to let you know. What does it mean now? Aneka, many, sanshaya, doubt, uchchhedi, the one that blasts them, cuts them. Paroksha, that which is not in front of the eye. So it is something unseen, something that is not in plain sight, not too obvious. Artha means meaning in this case. Artha is another meaning, which is resource or money. But here it means the meaning. So paroksha arthasya, the meaning of the unseen, of that darshakam. Darshakam is that which shows. So somebody who spots it and says, hey, there it is. So darshakam. Sarvasya lochanam shastram. Sarvasya, of all. Lochanam, I. Now the lochanam word is also interesting. It comes from the verb root called look, L-U-K, if you put it in English letters, look. From there, the English word look, to see, also comes. Okay? From there comes loka, is the world, that which can be seen is the loka. And lochanam is that which helps you to see. So all words in, almost all words in Sanskrit are formed from verb roots by applying prefix and suffix and certain rules. Shastram is any field of study that is done systematically, and today you would call it as science. A systematic study of something is Shastra. So Shastra is the eye of everyone. Yasya na asti, one who does not have it, andha evasa, he is like a blind. right? So what does it mean? That the signs, they surely clear most of the doubts. They show the unseen. They make the meaning of the unseen clearly. They surely are the eyes of everybody. One who doesn't have that eye, even though they have the physical eyes, is almost like a blind. So it clears many doubts, shows the meaning of the unseen. Surely science is the eye of all. One who doesn't have it is blind. So here's the interesting thing. I mean, for forever, for millennia, there's never been any conflict between science and so-called faith or religion or whatever you want to call that. Because the so-called faith or the spirituality, whatever, also has at its very core a simple advice, simple thing for you to say is wake up and investigate. That's a simple thing. Get up and open your eyes and see the truth, which is investigate. So pursuit of truth is very, very fundamental, not just to science, but to faith as well in India. So the second shlok that the king heard was yauvanaṃ dhana-sampatiiḥ prabhutvam avivekita ekaikam apyanarthaya kimu yatra chatushtayam. This again is a shlok, just like the previous one, Anushtup Chanda. It also has 8-8-8-8. And you might say that, hey, in the first word itself, yauvanaṃ, there is A and U, there are two vowels. But that is only because of the limitation of the English script. But if there are consecutive vowels, please consider them as one vowel. In Sanskrit, it is only one vowel, au. So it is and u, because that's how it is formed. So again, it is 8-8-8-8. What does that mean? Yauvanaṃ, youth. Dhana-sampatiiḥ. Dhana means money. Sampatiiḥ means wealth. And it not necessarily means monetary wealth. It means just something that has come to you, a repository of something that is with you. Samyak padati. It's very well with you. It's not going anywhere. In English, we would say, things have fallen in place. So sampatti, there are three words: sampatti, vipatti, and apatti. Sampatti, and all three of them have the root verb pat to means fall. So something that has fallen in place for you, that means in accordance to favorable to you, that is sampatti. So imagine that there is a treasure chest falling from the sky and it falls in your garden. That is your sampatti. You have become super rich. What if you were working in the garden at that time and the treasure chest fell on your head? Now that is vipatti. It didn't fall in place, it fell on you. So that's a vipatti. It's a big problem. But what if the chest fell in the neighbor's garden? Now that you will have big apatti, which is objection. Why him? Why not me? So sampatti, vipatti, apatti. So sampatti simply means an abundance of something. You have got a treasure or wealth. It could be of whatever it needs be. So if it is of wealth, if it is of money, then it is dhana-sampatti. If it is sukha-sampatti, then it is a wealth of peace or happiness, like that. Prabhutvam. Prabhutvam is, Prabhu is one who has the prabhav or the influence. So one who has control is Prabhu, one who's big influence. And in a sense, it is the Lord, the one who controls. So Prabhutvam is authority. And avivekita is an interesting word. Vivek is discrimination, and it's not a bad word at all. I'll show you after I'm done with this one. So Vivek is discrimination. Avivek is lack of discrimination. Avivekita is lack of discrimination. Now let me just show you what discrimination means in English. It is a very positive word. Currently, it is a very, very negative word, prejudice. But look at the second one, the one highlighted. The act of making or perceiving a difference, the act of discriminating. In psychology, the process by which two stimuli differing in some aspect are responded to differently. So what does discrimination mean here? It means the power to distinguish truth and falsehood. the power to distinguish right and wrong. Like ek ekam api anarthāya, each one of them, each one singly by itself is enough for anartha. Artha is meaning, and anartha is wrong meaning. So it's a disaster. So it didn't come out properly. So it is an anartha. So each one of them is enough for a disaster. What to say about all four? So youth, wealth, power, and stupidity. Each one is enough for a disaster. What to say when all four are together? And obviously the king had four such princes who were young, wealthy, powerful, and stupid. So he got worried, started thinking. Okay. So he thinks a lot of things, why it's not good to be stupid. So he thinks like, what's good is a son who is not counted among wise. That mother is an enemy, that father is a competitor, who don't get their children taught or educated. They don't, they don't adorn the company or the council of the wise people, just like cranes among swans. A lot of things he thinks about, and they're very similar things. So I'm not going into all the details, but the conclusion that he comes is that one needs to have effort put in. So there's a counter thought also. Some people will say, oh no, it's all predestined. What's supposed to happen will happen. What's not supposed to happen doesn't happen. There's a counter thought also that the creator creates your lifespan, your age, and your wealth, and your food source, and all these things at the time of birth itself. So there's nothing to worry about. If it is there for you, you'll get it. If it is not there, you'll not get it. All these kind of things he was thinking. Then and this is all rationalization of a lazy person, that destiny is all powerful. No. So then he says that destiny is not the only thing. Effort has to also go, because kakataliyavat praptam drishtvapi nidhim agratah na swayam daivam adatte purushartham apekshate, which means even if by pure coincidence, Kakataliya Nyāya is a pure coincidence, one sees a bag of gold coins ahead of in the path, gods don't give it in your hand. You have to get down, bend, and pick it up at least, right? So that much effort you have to do. Now, what is Kakataliya Nyāya? It's a Nyāya is a maxim. Kakataliya Nyāya is a crow flies to a tree and sits on a branch, and right then the fruit from an upper branch falls on the head of the crow, and the crow dies. So Kakataliya Nyāya means that it is a pure coincidence. What if the crow had gone to another tree? What if it sat on another branch? What if it had come to that branch 1 minute later, 1 minute early, or whatever? He could have not died. But it is pure coincidence. He sits, the fruit falls, and right on his head, and he's dead. So even by that much of pure coincidence, that luck, if there is a bag of gold on your path, right in front of you, you still need to do effort. Udyamena hi siddhyanti karyani na manorathaihi nahi suptasya singhasya pravishanti mukhe mrika. So work get done by effort, by putting effort, not just by wishes. If wishes were horses, pigs would fly, or whatever that English expression is. So you have to work hard. You have to put effort to get your projects and your desires fulfilled. You can't just be daydreaming and expect everything to finish, because even the deer wouldn't enter the mouth of a sleeping lion. He has to wake up, he has to chase the deer, and then put the effort, and then only it'll get. Mata shatruhu pita vairi yena balo na pathitah na shobhate sabha madhye hansa madhye bako yatha. So the mother is an enemy and the father is a competitor. So now vairi is a competition, it is understood as an enemy in modern usage, but actually there's a difference between a shatru and a vairi. So mata shatruhu, mata is an enemy, father is a vairi, competitor. one who does not, don't get their child educated. Hence, the child doesn't adorn amidst the meeting of wise, the council of wise people, just like a crane among swans. So interestingly here, why two different words are used, Mata Shatruhu and Pita Vairihi. Now, Vairi comes from Veer, Veer Bhava. Veer is brave. So a person who is brave and comes to challenge you, that would you fight? Are you man enough to fight with me? And he's, poised like a warrior ready to fight in a very brave stance. That is a Vairi. So he's a challenger. He's not an enemy. He's a challenger. If you accept defeat, he'll let you go. So father is not supposed to be, jealous of his children's success. Mother is the greatest friend the child has. Mother gives birth, nourishes, takes care and all this thing. So the extreme is used. Mother is the enemy and father is the challenger. Now, interestingly, what is the sentiment father or a guru have in India? It's a very simple saying, Shishyat icchet parajayam, putrat icchet parajayam. That means if I were to be defeated, I wish my son or my disciple, my student would defeat me, surpass me. So it's a very happy moment for a teacher that the student has surpassed the teacher, or for a parent that the children have surpassed them. So there's no jealousy. But if a father doesn't make sure that the child gets educated, he is like a competitor. He doesn't want the child to get better than him. And if a mother does that, then she's almost like an enemy. So they should take care of education. Now, this also explains why Indian parents are like those helicopter moms or helicopter dads and putting the pressure, sometimes not good also. Anyway, so the next day he goes to the court and he says guys, I have 500 scholars here in my court enjoying the royal patronage. I pay them, they're on my payroll. Would anybody be willing to take a challenge I have? My stupid four sons, the future kings, they are imbeciles, and who is willing to take up the challenge to make them worthy to be a king? It's a big challenge. So the minister started talking. Oh, well, sir, it takes 12 years to learn grammar. Then one has to study the dharma-shastras like that by Manu, or the artha-shastras that by Chanakya, or the kam-shastras like by Vatsan. And after studying and pondering upon them, one becomes worthy of some elite gatherings of wise people. There was one minister called Sumati. Sumati means good intelligence. He was an out-of-the-box thinker. Okay? So he said, Anantaparam kil shabda shastram, swalpam tathayur bhavah cha vigna. Saram tato grahyam apasya phalgu, hansair yatha kshiramivambu madhyat. Which means, Anantaparam kil shabda shastram, anantaparam, the shabda shastra, the science of words, so it could be either grammar or just in general the science of learning, all the learnings that you can do, is anantaparam, that which has no end to cross it. Param is to get across something, anant is no end. So it is endless. The world of learning, or of grammar also, Sanskrit grammar, is endless. And Sanskrit grammar is pretty much endless. There are so many rules and beautiful rules. It's very beautiful, but it's difficult. Swalpam tathayu, and ayu is swalpa. The lifespan is not guaranteed to be long, so it's very short. One lifespan is short to finish all the study. Bahavaha cha vigna, and lot of obstacles. Today we have even more obstacles, right? 10 things to distract us and 20 things to engage us. Tataha saram grahyam. That is why one should grab the essence, and phalgu apasya, and let go of the fluff, like the swan separates the milk from the water. So this is another Nyāya or maxim, which is called Nirakshir Nyāya, and which says that the swan can separate milk from water. So Sumati says that, sir, I have an idea. There is a renowned scholar named Vishnu Sharma in your court. He is the knower of the knowers. He knows everything and is respected greatly by the students. And you should approach him and request him to teach the princess. So the king tells Vishnu Sharma that, sir, if you will take up this challenge and make gold out of my mud-like sons, I will give you the tax collection rights on 100 villages. So the tax coming from 100 villages is yours. That's as your fees. And Vishnu Sharma says that, "O king, listen to me carefully. I won't sell my knowledge even for 100 villages. But if I don't make your sons experts in Niti Shastra, in 6 months, I will change my name." Now, this is a very big deal at that time. Now, the name that you have earned, the fame along with the name that has been earned over a lifespan of achievements, you change the name, that means you are as good as dead in that society, at least. What more to say, I'm 80 years old and have no desires of the senses or of wealth. But just to honor your request and for the country, I shall entertain them with my playful education, Saraswati-vinodena. So I'm going to be playfully educate them, the edutainment. Mark today's date, O king, and after 6 months, if your sons are not experts, you can even sentence me to death. That's what he says. So if you're sentenced to death, then obviously you must have done something wrong. That's why the king had you killed, and then you cannot go to heaven. After all these 80 years of leading a great life and assured seat in heaven, so this guy has taken the challenge pretty much. So the next day, the scholar Vishnu Sharma, he takes the princess on the top of the palace and says, "Kāvyashāstravinodena kālo gacchati dhīmata vyasanena cha mūrkhāna nidraya kalahena va." That means the time of the wise passes in entertainment by art and science, and that of the foolish passes in getting in troubles or sleeping or quarreling. And this was what I'd sent you in the invite. So when we have time, and we have a lot of time during this lockdown period all over the world, what should we do with that time? I mean, nowadays people are very scared to be with their own thoughts. Any smallest moment of time that they have free, they want to fill it up with something, maybe put on the music, or start doing something, watch TV, or whatever, watch some YouTube. But are you entertaining and growing? That's something we should think about. We skipped a lot of shlokas quickly, but I will cover some of them in later sessions. The time of the wise passes in entertainment via arts and sciences. Kavya is art and Shastra is sciences. That of the foolish in sleep, squabbles, or getting in troubles. So do some study every day. Grow old while learning.